interested in is agricultural intensification, and that has had a very positive effect on lots of things, especially things like food prices. But it also has had potentially negative consequences on the environment and also on parts of the rural economy, particular farms. And we're focusing on the dairy sector. There are fewer farms than there used to be. There are the farms that are remaining are bigger. They have more dairy cows, and those dairy cows are producing more milk. So what we're looking at is whether the effects of that intensification on the environment and the wider rural economy, and whether we can make that intensification more sustainable. One of the particular areas of interest is greenhouse gases, in particular methane from dairy cows and nitrous oxide, which comes from both from the feed fed to dairy cows and also the production of feed for dairy cows. A lot of experiments take place in the lab, and they use essentially a very simple model of a dairy cow to simulate what happens in dairy cow stomachs and rumens, and then only take the best results, best experiments, and then translate that into actual real dairy cows.
Here we are doing a technique, the gas production technique, which is a fast and reliable technique to screen different ingredients, different additives, or even diets for the potential to reduce production of carbon dioxide and methane in the rumen. We're trying to simulate rumen fermentation in vitro, so we are using rumen fluid from the cow, and we put it in this flask which under an aerobic condition, and when the fermentation starts, we're starting to measure gas production in different time intervals. By this we can measure the exact amount of carbon dioxide and methane that is produced from a specific ingredient, a diet, or an additive.
We're also looking at how feed affects emissions from dairy cows and ways we can reduce emissions from dairy cows by feeding them different mixes of feed. Aberystwyth has a long history of doing grass research trials, looking at new varieties and different management techniques to grow grass.
And by feeding the cows more efficient to maintain the milk production at a high level, but to reduce the environmental impact of this production.
We are using models of farm management, models of emissions from agriculture, and we're using also information on trial data from Aberystwyth, and we're also using economists' expertise from Cardiff.
What we are doing is that we are combining the scientific data with the economic data and looking at if it is actually going to be sustainable, not just in terms of environment, but also in monetary terms and in economic terms. Because at the end, what it all comes to is that if it is economically viable or not.
What we hope it leads to is advice to farmers about ways they can manage their farms differently to reduce emissions from their farms. We also hope to influence policy, thinking about ways farms could be subsidised or funded or regulated in such a way that we can still maintain financial stability on the farms while reducing emissions and maintaining food production.